3 a.m. in Pompeii, the shocking truth about a BR0THEL that haunts you forever. The night was thick, suffocating almost, as the clock struck 3 in Pompeii. Shadows danced under the flickering street lamps, eerily revealing the ruins of ancient lives frozen in time. Whispers swept through the narrow, cobblestone streets, tales of a mysterious brothel hidden beneath the ruins, a place where pleasure mingled with the macabre. People claimed to hear cries echoing off the walls, souls trapped between lust and despair, haunting anyone brave enough to venture near. It was said that once you entered, the air thickened, and the walls seemed to lean in, listening, waiting. Locals avoided the spot like the plague. Old men shook their heads, their faces pale, eyes darting nervously. "It's cursed," they'd mutter, as if the very mention would draw the curse closer. And yet, the curiosity gnawed at many a heart, pulling those who dared against their better judgment. What secrets lurked in that labyrinth of forgotten desires? What dark acts transpired before the fiery end? But there were those who didn't care about the warnings. A group of thrill-seekers, fueled by reckless courage, ventured out under the cover of darkness. As they approached, the wind whistled through the ruins, almost like a warning. The brothel, marked by crumbling stone and intricate carvings, stood defiantly against the night. Vibrant paintings peeled from the walls, depicting scenes of rapture and despair, a frozen celebration of life amongst death. Could this be a portal to whispered yearnings of the past? The air turned cold. Frantic whispers filled the night, a mixture of excitement and fear. They inched toward the entrance, each footstep echoing like thunder. "What if we find something?" one of the girls whispered, her voice quaking. "What if the tales are true?" The others exchanged nervous glances, hearts racing. A lump formed in their throats, a primal instinct battling their thrill. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With bated breath, they crossed the threshold, and the world outside faded. Inside, the air felt heavier, thick with secrets. A flash of movement caught their eyes. Was it just a trick of the light? Heartbeats thundered in their chests. Curiosity had become an anchor, drenching them in dread and excitement. "Did you see that?" someone gasped. The shadows shifted again, and a chill ran down their spines. Were they alone? Or were the spirits of Pompeii's past hungry for attention, desperate to share their stories? The darkness beckoned, daring them to uncover whatever lay hidden in the heart of the brothel. And at that moment, they all knew, stepping back into the light wasn't an option anymore. What awaited them in this desolate world? What truths were about to shatter their understanding of life and death? The moment they crossed the threshold, the chill deepened, wrapping around them like a shroud. They stood in a dimly lit room, the air thick, often making it hard to breathe. The flickering light cast grotesque shadows that twisted around the walls, deepening the unsettling atmosphere. The faint smell of decay and something sweet, almost intoxicating, drifted into their nostrils. "Is anyone here?" Tim called out, his voice echoing through the ornate corridor, reverberating against stone. Silence hung heavy, only the noise of their own breathing filled the void. Each exhalation felt like an admission of fear, an offering to whatever might be lurking in the darkness. Would they unveil a hidden truth, or would it consume them whole? They moved cautiously, eyes darting, scanning the walls adorned with crude murals, some depicting scenes of ecstasy, others embracing stark horror. One painting a depiction of a woman with hollow eyes, grasping at a soul escaping, stopped them cold. "What the hell?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "Keep it together," Jake insisted, trying to project confidence, although his legs felt like jelly. "It's just art." Yet, Shaking hands betrayed his facade as he reached for his flashlight, illuminating the hallway littered with remnants of a life long gone. Dust motes danced in the beam of light, glimmering like tiny souls trapped in a forgotten world. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed, a low, melodic humming that reverberated through the empty space. It pierced through the silence, unsettling their hearts. "Did you hear that?" Mia's voice quivered, panic glimmering in her eyes. They all paused, held captive by the sound, swaying between fear and intrigue, drawn deeper into the murky belly of the brothel. "I think we should go back," Tim stammered, but just as he suggested retreat, the humming intensified, wrapping around them with an energy that felt almost alive, luring them deeper into the labyrinth. "Wait!" Jake exclaimed. "What if it's a spirit? Maybe it wants to communicate." Nervously, they glanced at one another, a quick shared look of uncertainty. But the lure of discovery was potent. One by one, the group stepped forward, propelled by that primal thrill of the unknown, their feet guided by an invisible force. As they reached the end of the hallway, they found themselves in a larger room, the walls adorned with leering masks that seemed to watch them, grinning expectantly. In its center sat an old stone altar, dark stains soaking into the stone, a testament to rituals from epochs past. A sudden gust whooshed through the room, extinguishing their flashlights that in pitch darkness. Panic surged. "Relight them!" Sarah shouted urgently, her voice sharp, slicing through the oppressive silence. They fumbled, hearts racing as they struggled to regain a flicker of light. With shaky hands, Jake managed to click the flashlight back on, and the beam flickered back to life, and when they saw it, a figure stood against the wall, indistinct yet undeniably real. The air turned electric, charged with dread. "What the hell is that?" Mia gasped, backing away, eyes widened in terror. They stood frozen, the room alive with life that shouldn't be there. A soft moan escaped the figure's lips, pulling them into its haunting embrace. Did this entity hold sinister knowledge? Or was it a guardian of secrets better left buried? In that moment, thoughts raced through their heads. What were they truly willing to confront? And before they could step back, the figure began to whisper, enticing them into its web. What truth was waiting for them in this dark corner of history? As they leaned in, intent on hearing what it had to say, a chilling realization hit them: their next step would change everything. Would they seize the knowledge, or would they doom themselves to become part of the hauntings forever? Jake's heart pounded, an insistent drumbeat echoing the growing tensions in the air. He squinted into the dim light, trying to make sense of the figure before them. It was a woman, but not just any woman. A faint glow surrounded her, illuminating her skeletal frame. Ghostly tendrils of mist coiled around her feet, drifting towards the altar, as if forming an invisible connection. Who are you?" Tim stammered, his voice shaking but undeniably drawn to her presence. She smiled, a haunting, elongated grin that twisted reality. "I am the keeper of forgotten desires," she whispered, her voice like the rustle of dry leaves, somehow both inviting and repulsive. Mia's breath hitched. "What do you want from us?" The figure stepped forward, her hollow eyes boring into each of them, as if she could see their very souls. "Come closer, and I'll reveal truths that can shatter your world." Secrets of ecstasy and despair await. A chill slithered down Jake's spine. He felt the urge to step back, but something deep within him yearned to know more. The stories from the village, whispers about lost souls, tales of lovers entwined in the thrall of absolute pleasure and pain. He thought of the murals, the disquieting beauty in their horror. "Do you know what you're asking for?" Sarah finally found her voice, laced with apprehension. "Knowledge comes with a price. Are we ready to pay?" The figure tilted her head, acknowledging the trepidation in her voice. "These walls have borne witness to every secret you dare to hide. I will show you, and it may rip apart the very fabric of your existence." Jake exchanged glances with Mia and Tim, their faces reflected fear and curiosity, itchiness for answers that might, or might not, bring salvation. Was it worth the risk? Was it worth their sanity? What kind of truth could possibly demand such a cost? he inquired, stepping a little closer, heart racing. Ah, the urgent hunt for knowledge, the figure purred. But heed this well, to gaze into the abyss is to invite it into your heart. To learn of the past can haunt your present. Choose wisely. A crack of wind snaked through the room, and the flickering light suddenly brightened, illuminating the grotesque masks once more. They seemed to mock their hesitation, urging them to make a decision. The humming crescendoed into a cacophony, swelling in intensity. "We can't just stand here," Tim said, stricken with urgency. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" Silence fell over the group, palpable and heavy, the reality hanging in the balance. "What if we don't have a choice?" Mia whispered, her voice barely audible. "What if we really are meant to discover this?" As if triggered by her words, shadows within the room stretched and bowed, spiraling closer to them. The figure's accent deepened, her voice a whispering seduction. "You are already part of my story. The moment you stepped into this realm, you bound yourselves to me." Jake's head spun. Memories flooded his mind, stories of the brothel, tales of lovers lost amidst the lust, fears of never returning to normalcy. The stakes couldn't get any higher. Carefully, he stepped forward, his voice steady. "Then show us." With those words, the world around them trembled, and the figure's hollow eyes twinkled with a sinister light. The walls began to pulse, the shadows swirling like storm clouds about to unleash devastation. Suddenly, everything shifted. A series of echoing screams, desperate cries, filled the air, drowning them in a wave of overwhelming terror, and then it happened. Everything went dark once more, swallowing them in a void that felt alive, a seething heartbeat echoing all around. "Jake." Sarah's voice trembled in the abyss, weaving through the silence. They were no longer alone. Another presence stirred within the darkness, and an icy hand reached out. What secrets lay in wait just beyond their grasp? As their pulses quickened, only one thought pervaded: they had unwittingly invited far more than they bargained for. What would they do now that the boundaries were blurred? A chill wrapped around Jake, tightening like a vice. He could feel the icy hand brush against his arm, and panic surged through him, throbbing in his temples. "Get back!" he shouted, instinctively shuffling away from the spectral touch. But darkness enveloped them, smothering his words. "Do you feel it?" Mia's voice sliced through the silence, laced with terror. "The pulse? It's alive." A low, haunting laugh rolled through the void, echoing off unseen walls. Jake squinted into the blackness, searching for any semblance of light, any clue to what lay before them. The laughter grew louder, reverberating, a mocking chorus that sent shivers crawling down his spine. "Welcome to the realm of desires unfulfilled and nightmares awakened," the figure's voice echoed, now multiple, layered with distortion. "You wished for truths, didn't you?" Tim's breath came quick and shallow. "I didn't sign up for this," he muttered, casting desperate glances in every direction, but there wasn't a single place to hide. The shadows warped, forming grotesque shapes around them, faces twisted in agony, whispering forgotten secrets. "Run!" Sarah gasped, grabbing Mia's wrist. They turned, instinctively racing away from the echoing voices, the dark expanding like a living entity, clinging to their legs, threatening to drag them back. But it felt as though the darkness was everywhere, closing in around them. The atmosphere thickened, each breath tasted of despair and echoes. Jake stumbled, he reached out, desperate for a handhold, and his fingers brushed against a cold surface. It was smooth, like glass, reflecting flickers of remembered light. "Not all secrets are worth uncovering," the woman shouted, and suddenly, a blinding flash ignited the space. Every shadow recoiled, giving way to a surreal scene. A glimpse of distant memories spun from whispered lies. Suddenly, fragments of their lives played before them, painted in a vivid yet grotesque fashion. Lovers entwined, laughter mingling with screams, passion edged with betrayal. Desire turning sour, Jake staggered back, shaken by the truth laid bare. "This can't be real." "Maybe it's not," Mia whispered, her voice trembling as she grasped his arm. But what if it is? What if we're witnessing parts of ourselves? That's the price, the figure's voice resonated around them, twisting in their ears. To dive into the deep is to confront what is held within the shadows of your souls. Do you have the strength to bear it? An overwhelming weight bore down on Jake, a sense of dread threatened to wrench him apart. This wasn't just some spectral trick, it displayed their deepest fears. Stop! Tim shouted, clenching his fists. We have to leave this place. But where? The room shimmered, shifting as echoes of despair circled them. Leave. The figure's tone shifted, now sultry, almost enticing. The path to escape lies in acceptance. Only then will you shatter these chains. What do you mean? Tim's voice cracked, vulnerability splintering through. I mean, the figure pulsed closer, sending tendrils of fog swirling. To confront desire is to know yourself. But are you prepared to pay the ultimate price? The room warped, colors fading, swirling into chaos. Memories began to morph, crashing together until blinding white enveloped them again. Time ceased to exist in this horrifying continuum of existence, and voices surged as they screamed their questions, their doubts all drowning in their own confusion and fear. Jake felt himself slip, dragging beneath this rising tide of terror. As visions consumed him, one thought screamed louder than all the rest: they had taken the plunge. And now, there was no turning back. What awaited them on the other side of this all-consuming darkness? Would they emerge with the truth, or become tales lost to the shadows forever? All at once, the blinding light faded, and Jake found himself standing on solid ground, although it felt unreal, like being on the brink of a dream. His heart raced as he looked around, disoriented. They were no longer surrounded by shadows, instead, they stood at the edge of a crumbling city, bathed in a sepulchral glow. Where are we? Tim stammered, rubbing his eyes as if he could erase the vision. Pompeii, Mia said, her voice barely a whisper. She was staring wide-eyed at the ruins before them. But it's not like it should be. It's wrong. The city breathed with a life of its own, even as its buildings stood frozen in time, charred reminders of forgotten days. Smoke curled through the air as if the ground was still smoldering from the ancient eruption. An unsettling sense of fear crept back in, crawling beneath Jake's skin. Do you guys see that? Sarah pointed towards a shape moving in the distance, shadows darting between the ruins, phantoms alive with a haunting familiarity. They looked human, but there was something off about them. Their faces were blurry, indistinct, and twisted with despair. Run! Jake yelled again, already pulling Mia forward as he fought against the tide of an unseen force trying to pull them away. But each step felt heavier, as if the ground itself was trying to claim them. Wait! What if we're meant to face our past? Mia yelled back, her voice shaky. What if these shadows are parts of us? Enough with the psychoanalysis. Tim shouted, trying to keep pace. Panic poured out of him along with every word. This isn't the time. Yet, as they sped through the stunning ruins, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, something ancient, something angry. He glanced over his shoulder. The lingering shadows were closer now, creeping up with ominous intent, and he could almost make out their forms. They moved in sync, like dancers rehearsing for a tragic play. The walls of Pompeii seemed to whisper their secrets, drawing him in. Suddenly, they skidded to a stop as a figure stepped from the shadows, a woman draped in billowing veils, her face obscured, yet an energy radiated from her, pulling their attention. Are you ready for the revelations? Her voice resonated like thunder in the still air, echoing off the ruins. Every choice you've made has led you here. Embrace the truth, or be consumed by your longing for it. Get away from us! Sarah shouted, her voice trembling. She took a step back as the shadows edged closer, clawing at the edges of their sanity. Stay together! Jake shouted, grabbing Mia and Tim, but the woman's gaze sliced through the fog of fear. There was something oddly inviting about her presence, making it hard to look away. What are we supposed to do? Tim's voice cracked, desperation nipping at the edges. We can't handle this. The woman slowly raised a hand, and with it, a glowing orb appeared above her palm, pulsing like a heartbeat. It flickered and shimmered with their darkest memories, lost loves, missed opportunities, the faces of their past. To escape, you must confront what you fear most: the heartbreak, the betrayal, the loneliness. No. Jake roared, rage pushing back the fear. Leave us alone. But the shadows pressed closer, swirling around them, whispers growing louder like a terrible wind. The orb expanded, almost pushing them back together, as laughter filled the air, familiar yet twisted. We are the memories you want to forget. The voices echoed. And you cannot run from us. Jake's heart thundered in his chest as he felt the truth crashing into him. The weight of unresolved guilt, the burden of choices left behind. It all consumed him like a wildfire. He took a shuddering breath, looking to Mia and Tim, their faces mere reflections of his own terror. What if he swallowed hard, the vertigo of the moment overwhelming? What if we can't escape? What if we must choose to face what we've lost? The shadows danced, moments flickering around them like bursts of heat in a desert. The woman watched, her smile bittersweet, waiting. As the horror closed in, Jake knew their next move would determine their fate. Would they break through the veil, or let the shadows claim them for eternity? With hearts pounding and the remnants of their past bearing down, would they finally make that choice together, or would they risk losing it all? The orb pulsed aggressively, illuminating the faces of the shadows gathering closer. Jake's heart raced as he felt the oppressive weight of their memories closing in. He could see glimmers of his own past etched in those blurry faces, moments he tried so hard to bury. Jake! Mia's voice cut through the chaos, trembling as she grabbed his arm. We can't let them overwhelm us. Fear surged through him. What if what we see isn't real? What if we lose ourselves in this madness? The ethereal woman stepped closer, the orb in her hand flaring brighter. The only way forward is through. These are not just shadows of your past, they are the echoes of your choices. You can't outrun them. Not here. Not ever. Tim took a trembling step forward, almost hypnotized by the flickering light. But what if I can't face them? What if it destroys me? Or what if? Jake interrupted, his voice gaining some steadiness. What if facing them makes us stronger? What if it's the only way to break free? The air crackled with an electrifying tension. The shadows lunged, screaming in an agonizing chorus that reverberated through Jake's bones. Face the pain. Embrace the memories. Let us in. Each voice struck him like a dagger, pulling him back into moments he thought he'd escaped: the bitter fights with his parents, the girl who left without a word, the friends he pushed away. Each recollection was a weight dragging him down, yet a flicker of defiance ignited in his chest. No. Jake shouted, his voice fierce. I refuse to let you control me. With a swift motion, he stepped toward the orb, determination guiding him. I will confront you. I will remember. Mia and Tim, emboldened by his words, joined him at the orb. All at once, the glow intensified, casting long shadows that danced across the ruins. The woman smiled knowingly, as if she had been waiting for this moment. Together, she urged, her voice soothing. Embrace the darkness and transform it into light. As they held hands, the orb pulsed again, and the memories materialized around them. Vivid and raw, they took on life. The moments flooded in without warning. Jake gasped as he saw his younger self, sitting alone in a high school cafeteria, the laughter around him echoing in stark contrast to his isolation. Tim fought back tears as he relived the painful phone call that shattered friendships, while Mia gasped as she faced the betrayal that left her heart bruised. Face it. The shadows roared, a cacophony of regret. You cannot hide. Jake closed his eyes, digging deep within. No more running. He yelled into the swirling chaos. Moments flooded into him, not just the pain but also the lessons learned. Despite the hurt, light threaded through. Suddenly, the orb erupted in blinding light, and for a brief moment, Jake felt hope. "It's all part of us," he declared, his voice steady now. "The pain and the joy, we can't erase them. We have to own them." The shadows froze as the air vibrated with energy. The woman's face shone with approval. "Can you feel it? The power of acceptance?" she asked. "This is your true strength. The moment you choose to face what haunts you is the moment you reclaim yourself." Emboldened, Jake opened his eyes, glancing at Mia and Tim. They looked resolute now, a fierce fire ignited within them. Together, they shouted, "We will not let you define us." As the words reverberated in the air, the light from the orb burst forth like a dawn chasing away darkness. The shadows recoiled, screeching in a tempest of despair. Then, just as quickly as it began, everything went silent. The monumental release of light dimmed, and Jake could see the ruins around them transforming. Cracks began to heal, and colors swirled where gray once reigned. But then something twisted in the atmosphere, a cold shiver creeping down his spine as an ominous whisper cut through the silence. "Do you think you've escaped? Your true journey has only just begun." Jake's heart sank as he sensed the shifting darkness returning, more potent, more insidious, a new presence creeping in on them from the shadows. "What now?" Tim's breath was shaky, eyes darting around. "What have we awakened?" Jake clenched his fists, adrenaline surging once more. They had faced their past, but what lay ahead was more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. "Only one way to find out," he said, steeling himself. "Stay close. This isn't over." And as they ventured deeper into the heart of Pompeii, a haunting realization settled over them: the true darkness had yet to reveal itself, and its secrets were waiting, hungry for souls. The shadows swirled menacingly, merging into a thick fog that gripped the air with an icy embrace. Jake's pulse quickened as he stared into the darkness, the familiar sense of dread creeping back. They had faced their memories, but what awaited them now was unknown territory. The whispers grew louder, echoing sinister promises he dared not entertain. "Mia, Tim," Jake breathed, his voice barely breaking through the oppressive weight. "Can you feel that?" The two nodded, their expressions a mixture of resolve and fear. "Let us stick together," Mia urged, glancing around nervously. "We've come this far. We can't turn back now." As they pressed onward, the ground trembled slightly beneath their feet, sending shivers through Jake's body. The ruins of Pompeii loomed ominously, the ancient stones seemingly alive, watching, waiting. With each step, shadows flickered, taunting him with images of unworthiness and regret. It was a pitiful taunt, yet he felt its teeth sinking in again. Suddenly, the darkness broke apart to reveal a massive archway, long hidden under layers of debris. It stood tall and proud, engraved with symbols that swirled and writhed, speaking of secrets long forgotten. A pulse of energy emanated from it, beckoning them closer, and Jake felt an irresistible pull. "What is that?" Tim whispered, his voice filled with awe and terror. "It's like it's alive," Mia replied, her eyes wide as she traced the symbols with her fingers. "Don't touch anything," Jake cautioned. "We don't know what it is yet." As they approached, the air thickened, and the whispers coalesced into distinct voices, calling out for freedom. Each call was laced with desperation, as if the very souls of Pompeii were alive within the stones. Jake felt their anguish cut through him. "Please, help us, release us," the voices moaned. "They're trapped," Mia gasped, stepping back. "We have to do something." "No," Jake replied sharply. "We can't just let them pull us in. Look what happened last time." "But they could be the key," Tim insisted, his voice rising with urgency. "We can't abandon them." Jake fought against the rising conflict within him. "It's dangerous. We've seen what the darkness can do." Suddenly, the archway began to glow, illuminating their faces with an eerie light. The symbols twisted and turned, shifting into familiar shapes, memories, faces, decisions. Jake's stomach nodded as he recognized moments he thought he had banished forever, suspended between life and death. You have to choose. The voices cried. Give in to the fear or face it head-on. His breath hitched in his throat as Jake made a decision. No. I will not be made a pawn in this game. He stepped forward, the warmth from the orb flickering back to life, pushing against the shadows closing in again. Join me. Jake shouted to Mia and Tim. Let us fight together. We've faced our past. Facing this must be the next step. Mia and Tim looked at each other, exchanging a deep look that held a world of meaning. Then, without another word, they stepped beside him, their shoulders brimming with newfound determination. The archway shimmered, vibrating with energy, as they formed a circle of unity under that haunting glow. With one voice, they shouted, We are more than our shadows. The echoes rippled outward, colliding with the dark mass, pushing back the consuming void. A sharp screech erupted, reverberating through the ruins, shaking stones and scattering dust. The darkness twisted and churned, fighting against the energy they de-summoned, but it was weakening. Just as the archway began to dissolve, a blinding light pulled them in. For a moment, Jake was enveloped in pure brightness, dissipating the shadows that haunted him. But then, as the light faded, a new scene emerged, twisted, dark, and filled with chilling laughter. Footsteps echoed all around them, and Jake nearly lost his breath. What now? He whispered, heart racing as he saw the flickering shapes closing in again. It seems we've only opened a door to another nightmare before he could finish. A shadow stepped forward, cloaked and sinister, pulling away from the veil of darkness. Welcome, brave souls. You truly think you found freedom? The figure's voice slithered through the air. Your true reckoning is just beginning. A cold swell of fear washed over Jake as he steeled himself for a confrontation that would test every fiber of his being. Whatever lay ahead, it was a battle for their very souls. Brace yourselves, Jake warned, their time had come. And as the figure lifted a hand, sending forth an avalanche of shadows, Jake was left wondering, would they fight their way through or would they be swallowed by this new darkness? The shadows surged forward like a tidal wave, their twisted forms coiling around the trio. Jake's heart raced as he instinctively pulled Mia and Tim closer. Stay together, he shouted, feeling his voice barely pierce the cacophony of despair that surrounded them. The cloaked figure's laughter echoed, chilling and cruel. You think that unity can save you? I offer you power if you're willing to pay the price. The figure took a step closer, and Jake could see its face, pale and void of humanity, filled instead with the residual shadows of forgotten souls. Anxiety constricted Jake's chest as a suffocating weight pressed down on him. What price? Tim's voice trembled, like leaves rustling in a tempest. What do you want from us? The figure raised a long, bony finger, tracing the outline of the archway as if it were a living map of turmoil. Your deepest fears. What haunts you the most? I will take that and, in return, grant you strength beyond your understanding. No way, Jake spat, defiance flaring within him. We won't trade our fears for power. It's not worth it. The figure smirked, the kind of smile that negated warmth and only invited dread. Then struggle against the tide, little heroes. The shadows are hungry, they know your secrets. Before he could react, the shadows lunged at them, narrowing into a funnel of darkness aimed right for their hearts. Jake felt a cold pang in his gut. He staggered back, but Mia straightened, raising her locked gaze to the shadowy monster. We can fight this, she said fiercely. Jake, remember your strength. We've faced worse together. Just like that, determination ignited in him. The shadows may be powerful, but they didn't know what the trio had already endured, a history of defiance against darkness. A wave of warmth washed over him, sparking visibility amidst the chaos. Together. He yelled, amplifying their connection. We have to harness our fears, not let them own us. Mia nodded emphatically, her resolve firm. Remember who we are. This is just another test. Tim clenched his fists, his breath quickening, but he steadied himself. Let us channel it. Let us turn this fear into light. With a fierce cry, the three of them linked hands, pulling their memories the moments of weakness, pain, and fear, then infusing them with love and strength. The shadows writhed, recoiling momentarily as if they could sense their unity. Suddenly, the ground erupted beneath them, sending jagged stones shooting into the air like missiles. The archway flickered, showing flashes of visions. Vulnerabilities turned into flames of fight. They could see their past regrets but now fueled their will to resist. Yes. Jake shouted, we are more than our past. A blinding light erupted from their circle, swallowing the shadows, pushing them back with sizzling energy. The figure's face twisted in rage. You cannot escape me. This darkness feeds on you. Just as it seemed victory was within their grasp, the figure unleashed a scream that echoed all around. The shadows thickened, overwhelming their light, pushing back, clawing at the edges of their consciousness. Do you think you can escape your fate? I will have your fears, one way or another. Jake felt fear creep back deep within him, pulsing like a heartbeat. But beneath that fear flickered the memories of moments when he, Mia, and Tim had joy, laughter, love, a history that was powerful enough to push through even the darkest of nights. Don't give in. Mia's voice resonated through the chaos. Remember why we fight. Then came a moment, an explosion of clarity. The shadows recoiled, distorting in a chaotic exodus just as they stared into the very essence of the cloaked figure. We've already faced you. Jake realized, the weight of past encounters crystallizing into understanding. You're just fear dressed as a threat. But before they could grasp this truth, a blinding flash erupted, sending them spiraling into an endless white void. Darkness shrieked, its furious wails fading. It was too sudden, too disorienting. The light softened, and as their surroundings came slowly into focus, they found themselves standing in a vast chamber, adorned with inscriptions of their forgotten memories. Shadows danced at the edges of the room, teasing and clawing at the edges of their minds. Jake's heart sank as he noticed another archway ahead. A sinister grin attached to it seemed inviting yet treacherous. Something told him it wasn't over. What now? Tim's voice faltered, as they exchanged looks of dread and uncertainty. Caught between the remnants of their recent battle and the prospect of yet another confrontation, Jake felt a chill run through him. They had fought fiercely, yet a new horror loomed. Onward, Jake whispered, a lump forming in his throat, as he took a brave step towards the archway. We can't allow this darkness to define us. But as they approached, a series of haunting whispers filled the chamber, and among them, one chilling sentence rang out clearer than the rest: this is where your greatest nightmare begins. The echoes of the whispers wrapped around them like a freezing mist, each syllable crawling under their skin. Jake hesitated, breath hitching in his throat. He could see dark figures shifting just beyond the archway, familiar yet twisted. His heart raced. What awaited them? Do you feel that? Tim's voice shook, offering a fragile tether. It's like they know us. Mia squared her shoulders, determination glinting in her eyes. Whatever it is, we face it together. Pushing forward, they crossed the threshold into the next chamber. As they stepped into the darkness, 1,000 memories flooded back. Familiar scenes turned grotesque, each one morphing into a twisted reflection of their past. Jake stumbled as he suddenly saw himself standing alone, surrounded by shadows of heartbreak, echoes of laughter tainted by loss. No, he gasped, eyes wide. This isn't what really happened. The shadows around him flickered, whispering his shame and fear, causing him to stumble back. Mia reached for him, her fingers brushing his arm. Jake, we're not alone. Remember? Her voice sliced through the torment. We're standing right here, together. The shadows paused, bewildered by their connection. Tim pushed forward, tapping into the warmth they had generated in the last battle. You don't own us. Leave our past alone. With those words, Tim's stance grew stronger. The darkness hissed, writhing in protest, but Jake felt a surge of energy within. Locks of coal-black hair danced in the dark, taunting him with specters of how he had once felt lost. He tossed his head back defiantly. That boy was gone. Then, from the corner of the chamber, a flicker of a face emerged, a visage he recognized too well. Jake, a soft voice called, laced with sorrow. It was his sister, her face trapped in sorrow, dark shadows pooling beneath her eyes. "No!" he shouted, clutching his head as if to block out the vision. "You're not real." Mia reached out, guilt stinging her eyes. "Jake, she's part of your pain. You need to confront it." The air felt electric as shadows began closing in again, whispering terrible secrets. Fears morphed into accusations. His heart hammered wildly, each breath felt heavier as memories he thought he had buried surged back. Could he face this? Tim moved closer, determination set in his jaw. "You can do this. We're here to change the narrative." Jake swallowed hard, feeling the suffocating weight of fear. She deserves to be remembered, not imprisoned like this. As he stepped forward, the vision flickered erratically. His sister's face twisted, caught between anguish and anger as she screamed, "Why didn't you save me?" "No!" Jake shouted back, voice cracking with pain. Suddenly, realization surged through him. I didn't have the power then, but I do now. Channeling all he had learned through their battles, love, memory, and the strength of connection, he extended his hand toward her. "I'll carry your memory, but I won't let you haunt me anymore." Light burst forth from his palm, illuminating the shadows and casting away their grotesque forms. The terrible vision of his sister fractured, breaking apart like fragile glass, scattering into shining fragments that floated into the air. The chamber began to tremble, darkness retreating as more anguished faces flickered to life, each claiming a piece of his heart. But he wasn't done yet. "I refuse to be defined by this pain." Around him, Mia and Tim yelled in unison, lending their strength. "We fight together." With that shout, the remnants of his past swirled into a blinding storm of light and darkness, flickering like a candle caught in a storm. But the chamber shuddered violently. This was their reckoning, and it wouldn't be easy. The shadows shrieked, the sound raw and desperate. Jake dropped to one knee, panting. They were exhausted, but the archway loomed ahead, oppressing but still promising. "Push through!" Mia cried, fervently gripping his hand. "We're almost there." But as they neared the exit, a pulse of darkness surged forward, a sinister form materializing from the shadows, a cloaked figure, fully formed and waiting. "Did you really think you could escape your past?" it hissed, tauntingly. "Now it's time to pay the real price." Fear clawed at Jake's throat, freezing him in place. This was far from over, and the true battle had only just begun. In that moment of dread, as the shadows enveloped them again, questions rose hauntingly in the air. Could they truly conquer what lay ahead? Would the darkness finally claim them? The chamber shuddered violently, shadows swirling as the cloaked figure stepped closer, its presence heavy with foreboding. "What will it be?" it taunted, voice dripping with malice. "Fight or surrender? You cannot escape your past." Jake's heart pounded in his chest. The shadows encroached, pulling them into a vortex of despair. Fear clawed at him, but beside him, Mia and Tim anchored him with their presence. He could feel their determination surging through, a lifeline in the chaos. Together, he shouted, channeling every ounce of strength. The bond they formed had already broken barriers of darkness. This time, it could do the impossible again. Mia squeezed his hand. "We won't let the shadows own us." Her voice was a sharp reminder of their shared purpose. Tim braced himself, readying his spirit against the oncoming tide. They stood firm, facing the dark figure, shadows swirling like smoke around them. "You think your unity can shield you?" the figure proclaimed, shifting closer. "You know nothing of the price of this confrontation. It's not your price to claim." Jake shouted, stepping forward defiantly. The shadows flickered, sensing his increasing resolve. We've seen our deepest fears. We own our pasts. Light began to pulse from Jake's heart, mingling with the residual warmth of cherished memories. Each joyous laugh, every moment of love and triumph illuminated within him. No more hiding, no more fear, he declared fiercely, with renewed energy. The three shouted together, "We are our choices, and we choose to fight." In a blinding explosion, the light burst forth like a supernova, flooding the chamber, swallowing the shadows in searing brightness. The cloaked figure howled, the sound piercing like shards of ice. "No!" it screamed, as the light consumed the very fabric of the darkness. A crescendo of spectral cries erupted, regret and despair swirling chaotically around them. They felt the oppressive weight begin to lift, the vicious shadows recoiling from the brilliance. But the figure, with its distorted face, stood resolutely, digging its claws into the stone floor. "You may shine bright now, but I will always be within reach. Every fear, every doubt will return." Jake's chest tightened, the figure's words sinking like lead. But he remembered his sister's face, the love buried in pain, where light had once flickered safely. He turned to his companions. "We must not let it feed on our doubts. Let us forge our own path forward." With hearts synchronized, they held hands tighter. The energy flowed between them, ironclad and charged with potential. The chamber shook violently, the echoes of victory resonating throughout. "We are not defined by darkness." They chanted as one, voices intertwining like the roots of steadfast trees. Suddenly, the archway ahead shimmered, radiant and welcoming. "Run!" Jake yelled, urgency coursing through him. The shadows were clambering back, but the doorway pulsed, a beacon of hope igniting their resolve. They dashed through, the light enveloping them as they crossed the threshold. The shadows faltered, unable to traverse the barrier of their unity. Moments of doubt flickered but faded beneath the din of their shared strength. As they stumbled into the glaring daylight beyond the archway, they collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath. Pompeii lay before them, transformed. The ruins shone with new vigor, colors brighter under the sun. The once haunting silence was replaced by the gentle chorus of life. Birds sang, and flowers bloomed defiantly between the stones, but in that tranquility lay a warning. "We've done battle," Tim panted, eyes searching the clear sky. "But what does that mean for us? Are we free?" Mia breathed deeply, her heart swelling with cautious hope. "We faced our past. It can't hurt us if we own it and move forward." The shadows shrank into memory, manageable with the light they now carried. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of his sister's voice linger in his heart, no longer shackled by guilt. "Our journey isn't over, it's just begun." He felt invigorated, the possibilities in front of them. Endless. They stood together, united under the sun. The transformation had forged them into something great, something powerful. "This is our moment," Jake exclaimed, filled with purpose. "Let us share our story." As they ventured away from the ruins, the shadows of their past retreated, far behind, no longer capable of haunting them. They walked forward, hearts ablaze with hope, ready to embrace each moment life would bring, but in the back of their minds, the cloaked figure's voice echoed softly, a haunting reminder. "This is where your journey begins, and now, it was their time." Their truth lay on the horizon, waiting to be embraced. Before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that unfold. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this amazing community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us embrace every story waiting to be told.